It's a very, very dirty, very vicious business. Got to take just one look behind the surface, and what you see is a kind of exploitation of sex that has led to the deterioration of a lot of places, not only in New York, but all throughout the country.
This is what broken windows theory is all about. We got a problem. Now, you can do one of two things. You can ignore the problem and say, gee, I'm such a big, fuzzy-headed liberal that I'm going to walk away from it, and we're going to make believe there's no problem. That's New York City in the 1980s. That's New York City with 2,000 murders. That's New York City with 500,000 crimes.
Watch out, New York. Mayor Giuliani has some new targets in his quality of life offensive.
I just want you to think philosophically for a moment about a city in the mid-1980s, like this one, right, in which sanitation trucks moved through the city filled with graffiti. What did it say? It said, we have a lot of people in this city that don't respect the rights of others. It said we had a lot of people who don't have any self-respect. We actually said we have a city that has no self-respect.
It's a new moral struggle, with war being waged by law enforcement and in the streets.
Well, the city's police department is in the hot seat tonight. They're being probed for its treatment of minorities.
The mayor said that New York City police officers are among the most restrained in the nation, but community leaders say they discriminate.
The stops that the New York City Police Department makes are largely driven by the victim's description.
If somebody described that they were attacked by a 6'3" Caucasian, we're not going to go out and look for an African American.
That drove the activists nuts.
Because the victims identify them as black. That is the closest I've ever heard to a public policy of racial profiling.
4 years ago, I ran for mayor of New York City because I thought this city was in a crisis. We had gone through a period of time in which we had more murder each year than in any other prior year in the history of the city. We were averaging 2,000 murders a year. Jobs were hemorrhaging out of the city. And our school system was in a crisis.
I smoked about 5 crack like a half hour ago, and I wish I had 2 more.
The fact is that national magazines were writing about the city of New York things like the rotting apple, and people didn't see much of a future in the city of New York. I believe we've made a turnaround. This was a place that was known for something else just a few years ago. It was known as a place where there were a lot of drugs, a lot of prostitution, and a lot of crime. It was an area of violence that was helping to define the city of New York that way.
If the sex industry was safe anywhere, it was here on 42nd Street. Adult bookstores, sex shows, and prostitution. But it was scorched earth for regular New Yorkers. Off limits. That was before Mayor Rudy Giuliani sent his zoning experts into battle. This is what it looked like before zoning. Look at it today.
Strict zoning laws helped do away with the X-rated shops. And then came Disney, heralding a new era in what was once seen as an investment gamble.
Word has gotten out around the world that Times Square now is clean, safe, and friendly, and makes for a great investment.
10 years ago, if you walked along here, you would see it filled with sex shops, porn shops, prostitutes, drug dealers. It was one of the highest crime areas in the city and in the country.
Commuters didn't even want to walk here.
No, it was a disaster. It is now totally turned around. Crime down about 55–60%. It is one of the safest areas of the city, and it is poised for these new redevelopment projects.
Tourism is a cyclical business. Someday New York will not be as highly regarded as a destination because people will tire of it. Maybe crime will go back up, maybe the economy will go back down, but for the foreseeable future, with tourism strong, with the economy growing, with people coming to New York in record numbers, they should do well.
Now, how did you do it?
This was a combination of city-state project. It was on the drawing boards for about 15 years. What we did is finally get it started.
Giuliani says the crackdown is a quality of life issue, but those in the business say it's an issue of freedom.
Personally, I'm a dancer myself, so I mean, it hurts me just as well as everybody else. I don't think it's no need. I mean, it's not really affecting anybody. If you choose to go in and watch a movie, you go in. If you don't like it, then you keep walking. I mean, what's the big deal?
There was a lot of theory, a lot of thought about it. I'd say Disney's decision to invest in this area was the turnaround. Must have been about 35 porn shops just on this one square block.
Wow. Wow.
You can see why some call it the miracle on 42nd Street.
In a city as sophisticated as New York City or any place in the country, we proceed on the premise that the American people will be able to choose for themselves what books they will read or what films they will see or what form of entertainment they will enjoy. The government doesn't make that choice for us. And yet by manipulating these zoning ordinances the way they are and by eliminating 85% of the adult industry here in New York City, in effect, the government is making that choice for us.
From my point of view, what's involved here is crime reduction, economic development. This doesn't have anything to do with censorship. If people in some private way want to express themselves in different ways, that isn't for me to decide. But when they start expressing themselves in ways that destroy property values, increase crime, bring in organized crime, and start to destroy a city, then you have to have the discretion to do something about that.
You have to pay attention to people urinating on the street, and you have to get people to stop urinating on the street. That's moving toward civilization. That's moving toward decency. That's what I mean by a decent society that people want to invest in, people want their children to live in. If the next mayor would like to change that and invite people to urinate in public, then I guarantee you I will be the most popular mayor in the entire century about 3 years from now. Thank you.